History is filled with powerful women, but, few dared to do what she did. In ancient Egypt, a land of gods and kings, a woman seized the ultimate power. She did not just influence the throne from behind the scenes. She did not just rule as a temporary stand-in for a young boy. She declared herself king. She wore the false beard. She took the titles. She became a pharaoh in her own right, defying thousands of years of tradition. Her name was Hatshepsut, and her story is not just one of power, but of audacious, brilliant, and calculated rebellion against a system designed to keep her out. She proved that a woman could rule as effectively as any man, and for that, she was nearly erased from history forever. We often imagine ancient Egypt as a monolithic, unchanging society, a place where tradition was everything. The pharaoh was always a man, the earthly embodiment of the god Horus. This was the cosmic order, the way things were meant to be. But what happens when that order is challenged? Hatshepsut's reign forces us to ask this question. She was a woman who navigated a treacherous political landscape with unmatched skill. She used propaganda, religion, and architecture to cement her authority. She did not break the rules, she rewrote them to fit her own ambition. Her story is a masterclass in political maneuvering, a testament to what is possible when one person refuses to accept the limits placed upon them by their society. Her audacity is almost difficult to comprehend, even today. Imagine the courage it took. She was the daughter of a king, the wife of a king, and the regent for a king. Society gave her powerful roles, but they were all in relation to men. Hatshepsut wanted more. She wanted the full title, the absolute authority. She looked at the throne of Egypt, the most powerful seat in the ancient world, and saw no reason why it shouldn't be hers. This was not a grab for power born of simple greed. It was a carefully constructed plan, executed over years to convince an entire nation that a woman could be a king. She was not just a queen, she was a true pharaoh. This is not a simple story of a woman in a man's world. It is the story of a woman who remade the world to suit her. She didn't just put on the costume of a king, she redefined what it meant to be a king. Her reign was one of peace, prosperity, and incredible artistic achievement. She was a builder, a diplomat, and a visionary. Yet, for all her success, her legacy was attacked. Her name was chiseled from monuments, her statues smashed. The system she had so expertly manipulated eventually struck back, trying to pretend she had never existed. But they failed. Hatshepsut's story survived, a whisper through the millennia, waiting to be rediscovered and told once more. Let's travel back in time to the 15th century BCE. The Egyptian Empire is at its peak. The air is thick with the scent of incense and the sound of construction on grand temples. Now, picture the pharaoh. You see a powerful man, muscular, wearing the striped Nemes headdress and the ceremonial false beard. He is the warrior king, the high priest, the bridge between the gods and humanity. This is the image Egypt projected for thousands of years. It was an image of masculine strength and divine right. The king was the bull, the hawk, the protector of his people. Every aspect of this identity was tied to maleness, from the titles used to the myths that supported the throne. Now, let's shatter that image. Imagine a pharaoh who was also a woman. This is the puzzle of Hatshepsut. She did not rule as a queen consort, the great royal wife. She did not even rule as a queen regent, a mother holding power for her young son. She ruled as king. She took the fivefold titulary, the sacred names that belonged only to the pharaoh. She was king of Upper and Lower Egypt, lord of the two lands, Matkare. She presented herself in the masculine form, yet everyone in Egypt knew she was a woman. This was not a secret. It was a public, political, and religious statement. A pharaoh in a skirt, so to speak, though she often wore the male kilt. This was a radical act. The entire ideology of kingship in Egypt was based on a male lineage. The king was Horus, son of Osiris. How could a woman fit into this mythology? Hatshepsut and her advisors found a brilliant way. They crafted a new narrative, one of divine birth. They claimed that the god Amun-Ra himself had visited her mother, Queen Amos, disguised as her father, Thutmose I. In this story, the god declared that Hatshepsut would be the ruler of Egypt. She was not just a king by political maneuvering, she was a king by divine decree. This was not just propaganda, it was a theological reinvention of her identity, placing her legitimacy beyond question. So when we picture Hatshepsut, we must picture this duality. She was a woman, a daughter, a wife, and a mother. But she was also a king, a living god, and the supreme ruler of a vast empire. She navigated these two identities with incredible care. In some inscriptions, she's referred to with feminine pronouns, while in others, she is a man. Her statues show her with a female body and male regalia. She was not hiding her femininity, she was integrating it into the most masculine job in the world. She was showing Egypt, and the world, that a woman could embody the power of the pharaoh without sacrificing her identity. She was both, and that made her revolutionary. Hatshepsut did not simply wake up one day and decide to be king. Her path to the throne was a slow, calculated ascent, a masterpiece of political strategy. She was born into the heart of power, the daughter of the great warrior Pharaoh Thutmose I and his principal wife, Troiso Mayer. Kusabo, Kuso, Sho, So, Anso, Karmo, Mamur So's Fraz. This gave her an impeccable royal lineage. She was married to her half-brother, Thutmose II, as was common practice, becoming his great royal wife. This position already gave her significant religious and political influence. She was not just a wife, she was a god's wife of Amun, a powerful and wealthy priestly role that connected her directly to the most important god of the era, Amun-Ra. When Thutmose II died after a short reign, the heir was a young boy, Thutmose III, born to a lesser wife. Hatshepsut, as the boy's aunt and stepmother, was the natural choice for regent. This was a traditional role for a royal woman. She was expected to manage the affairs of state until the young king came of age. For the first few years, she did just that. She ruled in his name, securing the throne and managing the administration of the empire. But Hatshepsut was not content to be a placeholder. She had tasted power, and she clearly believed she was more capable of wielding it than anyone else. She began to lay the groundwork for something unprecedented. Her strategy was multifaceted. First, she built a network of powerful and loyal allies. Chief among them was a man named Senenmut. He was a brilliant administrator of humble origins who rose to become her chief architect, steward, and perhaps her closest confidant. He and other officials owed their careers and their fortunes to her. By elevating these loyal men, she created a court that was personally invested in her success. Second, she used religious ideology to her advantage. She emphasized her direct bloodline from Thutmose I and promoted the story of her divine birth, claiming the god Amun-Ra as her true father. This was a powerful move, suggesting her right to rule came not from marriage or regency, but from the gods themselves. The final step was the most audacious. Sometime around the 7th year of her regency, she made her move. She was crowned pharaoh, adopting the full royal titulary and the imagery of a male king. She did not depose Thutmose III, he remained a co-ruler, at least in name, but she became the senior king, the dominant power on the throne. She had successfully transformed her role from queen regent to king. She had used her lineage, her religious authority, her political network, and a brilliant propaganda campaign to achieve the impossible. She had convinced the conservative elite of Egypt that the cosmic order could, and should, be reinterpreted. She was no longer a queen holding the throne for a man. She was the king. One of the most persistent myths about Hatshepsut is that she was a wicked stepmother who stole the throne from her young nephew, Thutmose III. This narrative paints her as a power-hungry usurper who oppressed the rightful king. However, the evidence from the time tells a much more complex and fascinating story. There is no indication that their co-rule was filled with conflict. In fact, it appears to have been a remarkably stable and functional arrangement, a political masterstroke engineered by Hatshepsut herself. She did not get rid of Thutmose III. She did not imprison him or send him into exile. She kept him by her side, carefully managing his role and his image. Throughout her reign, Thutmose III was not invisible. He appears in reliefs and inscriptions, though always in a secondary position to Hatshepsut. She was the senior pharaoh, the one making the decisions. He was the junior partner. She ensured he received the education of a future king, particularly in military matters. While she focused on domestic policy, trade, and building projects, Thutmose III was being groomed as the head of Egypt's armies. This was a brilliant strategy. It kept the future warrior king occupied and loyal, giving him a sphere of influence that did not directly challenge her own. It also ensured a smooth succession and a well-prepared heir for when her reign eventually ended. This division of labor was practical. Hatshepsut, as a woman, would have faced enormous difficulty leading an army of men into battle. It was one of the few areas where her gender was an undeniable obstacle in a hyper-masculine warrior society. By placing Thutmose III in charge of the military, she neutralized this weakness. He led campaigns in Nubia and the Levant, gaining experience and prestige, all while Hatshepsut remained the ultimate authority back in Egypt. She controlled the state, the treasury, and the religious establishment. He controlled the soldiers on the frontier. It was a partnership that allowed both of them to exercise power in their respective domains, with her clearly at the top of the hierarchy. The idea of a bitter rivalry was likely a story invented much later to justify the eventual erasure of her name. During her lifetime, the co-regency worked. It prevented civil war. It kept potential rivals for the throne at bay, and it provided the empire with both a master administrator and a developing military leader. Hatshepsut was not an evil stepmother. She was a pragmatic and politically savvy ruler who understood that sharing a degree of power was the best way to hold on to it. She did not steal the throne, she redefined it to include both herself and her successor, creating a unique power-sharing arrangement that served Egypt well for 2 decades. While many male pharaohs built their legacies on conquest and war, Hatshepsut built hers in stone and through trade. Her reign was a period of remarkable peace and prosperity for Egypt, an era defined not by battles fought, but by temples raised and fortunes made. Her crowning achievement in architecture was her magnificent mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahari, a stunning terrace sanctuary carved into the cliffs of Thebes. Known as Djeser, or Holiest of Holies, the temple was unlike anything built before. Its elegant colonnades and ascending terraces created a sense of harmony with the landscape, a testament to the skill of her architect Senenmut and her own grand vision. This temple was more than just a beautiful building. It was a piece of masterful propaganda. The walls are covered in exquisitely carved reliefs that tell the story Hatshepsut wanted the world to remember. One series of reliefs depicts her divine birth, showing the god Amun-Ra promising the throne to her. Another famous sequence documents her greatest economic achievement, a large-scale trading expedition to the fabled land of Punt. This was a semi-mythical place, likely located on the coast of modern-day Eritrea, or Somalia, known for its exotic luxury goods. Previous pharaohs had traded with Punt, but Hatshepsut's mission was on an unprecedented scale. She sent a fleet of 5 massive ships on the perilous journey. The reliefs at Deir el-Bahari show the expedition in glorious detail. The Egyptian ships arrive in Punt, greeted by the local chief and his wife. They are loaded with incredible treasures: gold, ivory, ebony, panther skins, and aromatic resins like frankincense and myrrh. Most remarkably, the Egyptians brought back live myrrh trees, which they planted in the gardens of her temple. This was a triumph of logistics, exploration, and diplomacy. It flooded the Egyptian economy with wealth and provided the precious incense needed for temple rituals. By celebrating this expedition so publicly, Hatshepsut was showcasing her ability to bring prosperity to Egypt not through war, but through peaceful commerce. Her building program extended far beyond her own temple. She undertook a massive restoration project across Egypt, repairing temples that had been neglected or damaged. She erected massive obelisks at the Temple of Karnak, the religious heart of the empire. These single-stone monuments, the tallest ever quarried at the time, were a technical marvel and a clear statement of her power and devotion to the god Amun-Ra. Through her building projects and trade missions, Hatshepsut defined her reign as one of stability, wealth, and cultural flourishing. She proved that a pharaoh's greatness could be measured in the monuments they built and the prosperity they created, not just the enemies they conquered. How do you rule as a male king when you are a woman? This was the central challenge of Hatshepsut's reign, and she solved it with, honestly, remarkable visual genius. She effectively created 2 bodies for herself, her physical female body and her political male body as pharaoh. This duality is visible everywhere in her art and inscriptions. She did not try to fool people into thinking she was a man. Everyone knew she was a woman. Instead, she used the established symbols of kingship to create a new, hybrid identity. She was a female-bodied person who occupied the male office of king, and her royal imagery was designed to make that contradiction feel natural and divinely ordained. In her earliest depictions as ruler, she is shown with a female form, but wearing the regalia of a male king. You can see statues of her with a slender waist and the suggestion of breasts, but also wearing the royal kilt, the false beard, and the pharaoh's crowns. This was a way to ease her people into the idea of a female pharaoh. However, as her reign progressed, her official image became more and more masculinized. In the classic statues from the later part of her rule, she is depicted with broad shoulders, a muscular chest, and no hint of female anatomy. She is, for all intents and purposes, visually indistinguishable from any other male pharaoh. This was not an act of self-hatred or a rejection of her femininity. It was a political necessity. The office of the pharaoh was male. The titles, the rituals, the costumes, they were all designed for a man. To be the king, she had to look like the king. By adopting the male form in her statuary, she was signaling that she was not just a substitute ruler, but the embodiment of the eternal office of kingship itself. The physical body of the ruler was temporary, but the political body of the pharaoh was timeless, and, in her iconography, male. She was demonstrating that her female body could successfully inhabit this male role without breaking it. Yet, she never fully abandoned her female identity. Even when her statues were completely male, the hieroglyphic inscriptions accompanying them sometimes used feminine pronouns and titles. The text might refer to her as His Majesty, but then use a female verb form, or call her Daughter of Ra. It was a complex and sophisticated game of gender performance. She was simultaneously the king and a woman. She used this ambiguity to her advantage, drawing on the authority of the male office, while grounding her legitimacy in her unique position as the divine daughter. Hatshepsut showed that gender, in the hands of a clever ruler, could be fluid and strategic. Ruling as a female pharaoh in a deeply patriarchal society was not easy. Hatshepsut could not rely on tradition alone. She had to actively win the support of the powerful elites and the general populace. She faced the constant challenge of justifying her unconventional reign. Every decision she made was under scrutiny. Was she strong enough? Was she legitimate? Was her rule an offense to Ma'at, the cosmic principle of order and justice? To counter these potential criticisms, she launched one of the most sophisticated public relations campaigns in ancient history. Her goal was to normalize her rule and present it as the will of the gods. Her primary audience was the powerful priesthood of Amun-Ra at Thebes. This religious establishment controlled immense wealth and influence. By securing their support, she could secure her throne. Hatshepsut showered the temple of Amun-Ra with gifts from her trade expeditions and building projects. She erected her magnificent obelisks in the heart of their temple at Karnak. Most importantly, she wove the god Amun-Ra directly into her personal story. Her divine birth narrative, inscribed on the walls of her temple, made her his chosen daughter, destined to rule. By making her reign a fulfillment of Amun's will, she made any opposition to her rule an act of impiety. But she also had to appeal to the military and administrative elites. Many of these men would have been accustomed to serving a warrior king. Hatshepsut demonstrated her fitness to rule through competence. Her government was efficient and stable. The country was prosperous. Her building projects created jobs and stimulated the economy. While she did not lead armies into battle herself, she presented herself as a commander-in-chief. In some inscriptions, she is called a sphinx, a powerful symbol of royal might, trampling Egypt's enemies. She made sure Thutmose III, the head of the army, was loyal and active, ensuring Egypt's borders were secure. She proved that a pharaoh could be effective without personally shedding blood on the battlefield. There must have been resistance. It is hard to believe that everyone accepted this radical break with tradition without a murmur. Unfortunately, the official records of a pharaoh's reign are designed to show a perfect, unchallenged rule. We have no surviving documents detailing opposition or dissent, but we can infer it from the sheer scale of her propaganda. You don't spend so much time and effort justifying your rule if everyone already accepts it. The constant emphasis on her divine birth and her legitimacy suggests that her claim was, for some, questionable. Hatshepsut's reign was a constant performance, a 20-year effort to convince her people that a woman could and should be king. For nearly 22 years, Hatshepsut ruled over a peaceful and prosperous Egypt. Her death around 1458 BCE marked the end of an extraordinary era. Immediately, her co-ruler and stepson, Thutmose III, took his place as the sole pharaoh. For about 2 decades after her death, nothing seemed to change. Her monuments stood, her name was honored, and her officials continued in their roles. But then, late in Thutmose III's reign, a systematic and brutal campaign of destruction began. Hatshepsut's name and image were attacked. Her statues were smashed and thrown into pits. Her cartouches were chiseled off temple walls. Her figure was scraped away from reliefs, often replaced by the image of her father, her husband, or Thutmose III himself. Who was behind this erasure, and why? The most obvious suspect is Thutmose III. For a long time, historians imagined this was an act of personal revenge. The boy who had been kept from his rightful throne for 20 years was finally getting even with his ambitious stepmother. But the timing doesn't fit this theory. Why would he wait for 20 years to enact his revenge? A more likely explanation is political, not personal. Thutmose III had a son, the future Amenhotep II, whom he appointed as his co-regent. He needed to ensure a smooth, traditional, male-to-male succession. Hatshepsut's successful reign as a female king presented a dangerous precedent. By erasing her, Thutmose III was not trying to erase a person he hated. He was trying to erase an idea he feared, the idea that a woman could become pharaoh. If a powerful royal woman like Hatshepsut could do it, what was to stop another ambitious queen or princess from challenging his son or grandson in the future? It was a move to restore the traditional patriarchal order of kingship. By removing her from the official king lists and destroying her image, he was attempting to correct what he saw as a disruption to Ma'at, the cosmic balance. He was trying to ensure that history would only remember a seamless line of male rulers from Thutmose I to Thutmose II to Thutmose III. The attempt at erasure was incredibly thorough, but ultimately, it failed. The workers tasked with destroying her memory could not find every single image or inscription. In some hard-to-reach places, her name survived. Most importantly, the thousands of fragments of her smashed statues were dumped in pits near her temple. They were not ground to dust, but buried. It was this trash that allowed modern archaeologists, thousands of years later, to piece together her statues and her story. The very act of destruction preserved the evidence. The attempt to make Egypt forget Hatshepsut is the reason we remember her so vividly today. Her erasure ironically guaranteed her immortality. Hatshepsut's story is more than just an ancient tale of power and intrigue. It is a timeless lesson in resilience, ambition, and the art of self-creation. She was a woman who was handed a set of rules and chose to rewrite them. In a world that told her she could only be a wife and a regent, she made herself a king. She demonstrated that leadership is not about gender, but about vision, competence, and the ability to inspire. Her reign, marked by peace, prosperity, and architectural splendor, stands as a powerful counter-narrative to the idea that greatness is only achieved through military conquest. She was a builder, not a warrior, and her legacy is just as enduring. Her rediscovery in the 19th and 20th centuries was a revelation. For millennia, she was a ghost in Egyptian history, a missing link between two pharaohs. The slow, painstaking work of archaeologists brought her back to life. They reassembled her statues, deciphered her inscriptions, and reconstructed the story of her audacious reign. In doing so, they gave the world a new kind of hero, not a mythical queen, but a real woman of flesh and blood who navigated the treacherous politics of her time with unparalleled skill. She has become an icon for anyone who has ever been told they don't belong in a position of power. Today, Hatshepsut's legacy continues to inspire. She challenges our assumptions about gender, power, and history. Her story forces us to look more closely at the roles women have played in shaping our world, roles that have often been minimized or erased by male historians. She is a powerful example of how official histories can be manipulated, and how archaeology can uncover the truths that have been buried. Her magnificent temple at Deir el-Bahari still stands as a testament to her vision, drawing hundreds of thousands of visitors each year who come to marvel at the achievements of the woman who would be king. In the end, Hatshepsut achieved a kind of victory that Thutmose III could never have imagined. His attempt to erase her from memory only amplified her voice. By trying to silence her, he made her story more compelling. She is no longer just one in a long line of pharaohs. She is the female pharaoh, a singular figure whose audacity and brilliance captivate us thousands of years later. Her legacy is not just carved in the stone of her temples, but in the inspiration she provides. She reminds us that history is full of rebels, innovators, and rule breakers, and that sometimes the most powerful legacy belongs to the one who dared to be different. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more stories of remarkable figures who changed the world. Your support helps us bring more inspiring content to you.